big companies are the ones that are dropping more product innovation just to build incremental revenue. For us, we're not even in incremental revenue phase. We are in growth with how much more that we could sell this. So that's what we're focused on. Hi, I'm Ken Yoshimura, co-founder and CEO of Neuro Mints, and I am on Behind the Brand with Brian Elliott.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the show. Kent, welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I usually ask my guests, how did you get this job?
Oh my gosh, with a lot of trial and error and more error and trial than anything else. So, I mean, here I am, fortunately, luck was on my side and the brand's going well.
So let's go back in the chronology a little bit. I'm sure you didn't come out of the cradle doing neuro, but sort of give me the path, because a lot of people who watch and listen to the show,
Yeah.
they're founders, they're entrepreneurs, they're on their own path, they're on their own journey at different stages. So let's take it back, way back when. What did young Kent want to be when he grew up?
So, like a bad Asian boy, I was like, I want to be an artist, mom. And my mom was immediately like, you are definitely not becoming an artist, although that became a huge part of my life. And, I went through school. Martial arts was a massive, massive part of my childhood into my teens. And not so much my post-college career, although I'm super passionate about it still. And during that time, while I was, really training to perform at my best, I started delving into supplementation really at a young age. And in college, I decided to delve into it more because I didn't want to take the No Explodes or the Red Bulls or the Monster Energy drinks to make me feel a certain way.
And you grew up in the LA area.
And I grew up in the LA area.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so you're exposed to sort of, crunchy moms and all the things that are out here too.
All the above, and which is great, like having the sun 24/7 in LA is for someone like you, like athletic and, always out there. It was just like a great place for me to activate my athletic muscles. And so that's just was something that defined me for a big chunk of my life, even up till now.
Yeah. You mentioned your mom. And so when you told her you want to be an artist, what early signals did you have? Because I think this is another question I get a lot too, is like, how do I find my path? And that's age agnostic, right? That's whether coming out of school or you're like halfway done like I am and you're trying to find out like what really lights me up. A lot of people go to law school and they're like, I kind of hate being a lawyer now.
Yeah.
I want to do something more meaningful. No, no knock against lawyers. If you love it, great. But like, how do you find that passion? What were the signals that you had to like, I want to do art?
I mean, I think exploring my mind was something that was always fascinating to me. And with martial arts, you do that, but with physical movements attached onto it.
Yeah.
And when I went into college, actually the thing I ended up studying was neuroscience, because to expand my mind, I felt like I needed to understand the physiology and the biology behind it.
Yeah.
And in many ways, artists are constantly exploring how they want to push their creativity. And if you are, you were telling me that story from Laird Hamilton, but you really had to build those calluses, especially creatively. And I really wanted to develop an understanding of not just how I deploy my artwork and execute on it, but how my brain works to be able to execute on it.
Yeah. Were you like drawing cartoons or doodling? I know you do murals and other things, but unpack that a little bit more. Tell us, for those who don't know, like, what are you good at art-wise? Like, where's your disciplines?
I like the funny thing is, the reason I started doing murals is because I realized I'm pretty good at management and building teams and executing on larger projects. So more on the directing side. But when I was younger, I was diving into film because I wanted to learn about music and blocking and, all the things that
Creative.
it's like,
You just can't get away from it.
how do I get like my ideas out into the world?
Yeah. Wait a minute. Is that left brain or right brain?
Well, they say right brain
Right
because
brain,
it's contralateral, but I think that's like a myth that they got debunked a while ago.
Do you?
All
Okay.
parts of the brain work
Okay.
in conjunction.
Yeah. Seems like some people though, like either like we're forced to fall to one side of the fence or the other. But I'm seeing you as a very creative person.
Thanks. I mean, with the creativity I think I was so fascinated with film at a young age. Being Japanese, Akira Kurosawa was like a name that was just thrown around.
Oh yeah.
Like, one of the best directors of all time. And my dad's favorite movie was Seven Samurai. So I remember being like maybe 10 years old watching that movie and being like, wow, I get it. I get film.
Yeah.
And
Is that
that's,
the one where he takes like 7 or 8 arrows in the neck at the end? Like,
oh, and, I think that's Rashomon, not Rashomon, the Spider's Castle. I
okay.
don't know what it is in
Anyway, it's
English,
intense.
but amazing movie. Yeah, it's based on Macbeth, right? But, um, yeah, I remember watching that movie with my dad and being able to sit through a 3-hour movie at 10 years old and being like, "Okay, wow, I wanna be a film director. I wanna make films eventually." And that's actually the career path I originally went down after neuroscience and after college, because I didn't wanna get brain damage anymore by fighting
Mhm.
and go down a path where I could explore my creativity, but I realized that it was, that's a whole story on its own.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm fascinated. I'm eating it up. So what type of martial arts did you do?
So I did judo. I trained with the Japanese Olympic judo team and the Imperial Guards out in Japan. So that's something
Okay.
I did every summer. I trained with the Kyokushikan, which is a university out there, and stayed in their dorm rooms and, again, honed that skill set outside of America.
Yeah.
I fought in Thailand under Sit Tong in Muay Thai. So I did that every summer as well from around 16 until I was like 21.
Okay.
And then I
Also
did karate,
intense.
also very intense. Yeah, Muay Thai was probably judo was probably the most intense, and then Muay Thai. Muay Thai was intense because it was actual striking,
Yeah.
so from a physical damage level, um,
Kick, punch, kick,
kick,
punch.
punch, yeah, you're going in there to try to knock someone out, But with judo, the amount of injuries these guys work through injury all the time,
Yeah.
and now we know that you need to get good rest. You need to heal your injuries if you want, and you need to get good supplementation if you want to feel your best
Yeah.
and perform at your best. But that's not the way they were thinking about it 15 years ago.
Yeah. I'm thinking my mind works in metaphors for whatever reason. And judo is one of those sports, martial arts, that to me is like an ultimate metaphor of using your enemies. This what do I know about it?
Yeah.
Using your enemy's momentum against them.
Yeah.
Uh, say more about that. Like
But
what?
now imagine two momentous things coming together and trying to, drag people into their own momentum, which is where judo is more of a hard sport than aikido, which is really looking at the soft skills. How do you throw someone and get them off balance?
Yeah.
With judo, you're both trying to get each other off balance constantly. And
Yeah.
it's those micro maneuvers to win.
Yeah, judo to me seems as close to grappling and wrestling as you can get. Everyone's got cauliflower ear,
Oh, yeah.
and it's just
I've
brutal.
trained my ears before. That's why I have normal ears, and I'm pretty now.
Yeah, but I mean, metaphor for life, right? When things are coming at you. What have you learned from the martial arts have you done? How have you implemented that into business?
Oh my gosh. I mean, resilience is definitely one of the core components of being an entrepreneur. Um, I am competitive to a fault. And I think with business, you need to be able to utilize that at the right moments. And as you get better at martial arts, you realize the same thing, where you can't always be attacking, attacking, attacking. You have to find the right times to attack, whether it's countering or whether it's, pairing and being defensive, and then, waiting until they're weakened.
Yeah.
Um, and really going day to day, you can't be going 100% with entrepreneurship. You have to find the right times. You have to find the right deals. You have to focus on the right things, because that's how you have longevity, and that's how you, like, from talking not humbly right now, but that's how you succeed, in many ways,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
And Yoshinaide.
Okay, okay. 遠慮しません。
uh, so I want to go back into art, because I really think, and I think I've made an error. So I have, this is me in the confessional right now, is I've always been super pragmatist, right? So, I don't have a place for art or fiction,
Uh-huh.
and I think that's been a huge mistake. Now, I've been a fan, like, so I consume fiction or art, I can appreciate a great sculpture, a great painting. I mean, I know nothing about it, so I'm very uncultured in that regard. But um, with movies and film, like, I love fiction just as much as I love nonfiction. But like on the reading sense or consuming it, I think I've really missed out because I've been so practical and I've read business books. Like I've probably read every business book.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of great business books, to be honest. And maybe that's because after doing this for so long and talking to so many experts and smart people, I realize there's just so many ways, and this is another Japanese philosophy. It's like so many ways to the top of the mountain, so many paths. There's not one. There's many paths that lead to the top. So it's just about finding your own way. And even what worked for someone may not work for you, right? Like,
Yeah, I mean, Brian, I think you're being way too humble. I think you do have like a deep understanding. If you're going to be in the film world and you're producing these big things, you have to have an understanding of art, because that's how you set yourself apart from everyone else. And the way you're talking to me and, the communication we've had prior to, even recording, like it seems as though you have a deep understanding of how people work together, which in turn is art. How are people interacting with things, whether it's each other or things in nature, experiences, ideas?
yeah, I appreciate the compliment. I will take it. It reminds me of something my mentor, Seth Godin, taught me. And he had this book come out. It's probably a little over a decade now. It was called Lynchpin. And in that book, he talks about we're all artists. We're all genius. So you can be an accountant and that's your art, or you can be a surfer and that's your art, or, you know, whatever, that's your art. Do it well. I think I have a little bit of an unfair advantage because the way my mind works with metaphors, and it runs like little movies in my head, so I can sort of see the
It's
scenes,
storyboarded.
the story. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
little storyboards in my mind. So maybe that's you know genetic or somehow learned. But I think art is so valuable. Um, I want to understand like how you went down that path and then how you pivoted to business, because there's still a lot of starving artists. We look out here in the streets of Santa Monica, it's
Yeah.
filled with great art and amazing people, but they're not all successful. So, talk more about your art, like where it took you, the people you met. I want to flesh that out a little bit more.
Yeah. So I also think in storyboard, I think storytelling is the ultimate medium because that's where, I mean, being in film, that's where everything starts. And it's like one of my favorite movies is Adaptation, actually, because you just see Charlie Kaufman in the background being like, I wrote this whole thing, and then he's pushed to the side, right? And everyone else has like the final say. But with art, I mean, I remember doing martial arts, and Bruce Lee used to draw all the time, all his movements, because it allowed him to go back and consolidate what his movements were in his head. And so I would do the same thing. I had a little notebook where I would practice like what skills worked, what movements didn't. And to me, that was like the base of really my like technical skills.
Mhm.
And then from there, as I learned more about film, I started delving into like, I read the book like Strike a Baby, right? Where it's like the language of film, which doesn't really translate to the real world. Started learning about that, started going into production sets. And then ultimately, I got myself a DSLR like everyone else, like this is like 18 years ago, a Canon 5D Mark II. And I went out and started putting films together with my friends. And then eventually I got into UCLA in their production program. I actually met some incredible people there. One was an incredible cinematographer that it's has made headlines lately, Helena Hutchins from Rust. But so she was my classmate. But those were the type of people I was with. Incredible, just creatives.
Yeah.
And then I started doing running gun stuff, working with DJs, and ultimately met this guy named Stefan Skarbek, who was a producer for Amy Winehouse
Okay.
during that time. And Amy Winehouse had interest in actually producing a documentary film that I was developing during that time about my friend Najib Sabor, who at 13, his father got killed by another 13-year-old.
Okay.
And he became a cello player for the Texas Philharmonic
Hmm.
while this other kid was in prison for the rest of his life under the governance of George Bush. So it was about this divergent path.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, production came to a stall because Amy Winehouse passed away, and then there was lost interest. But that was like a turning point for me to be like, at this stage in my life, I don't have what it ta- I felt like I didn't have what it takes to put big productions together and gather people and herd people around me.
Okay.
So I wanted to work on that skill set. I got into illustration. I started doing branding for the Coffee and Tea Leaf. I built their branding for their children's decaf tea line that they
Okay.
developed. Became friends with their CEO, who went to work at after Coffee and Tea Leaf originally got acquired. I would play music and jam with him all the time with my friend Mondo. So he was creating a subsidiary under Sony to make music for film and television. And that was my re-entry back into film, where I started making music for film and television. And then during that time, I realized that the film and music industry was pretty brutal if you don't have money. And I couldn't really find my way up from it. So I started developing Neuro,
Yeah.
a little bit more seriously with Ryan, my co-founder. And then I started painting murals because I knew that that was like my entry into larger scale productions with my skill set in illustration.
Okay, what a path. So put a timestamp on that. Are we at like
20,
2015?
yeah.
16?
So I was 25 when I joined Wava, which was the Sony vertical, and then I was 27 when I started painting murals seriously, and I was 27 when I also started Neurogum.
How did you find your co-founder?
So we were best friends in college,
Okay.
and he's 1 year younger than me, but we met in Japanese class. He was captain of his cross country and track team. I was doing martial arts really seriously. I was traveling and fighting somewhat professionally at that time, and we connected on really athletics and all the fun things you do in college. And
Yeah, like I have this idea.
yeah, exactly. And I was giving him the supplements that I was mixing in my own dorm room because I was just literally buying things off the black market, seeing what would work, what wouldn't. I was buying like supplements in bulk and testing it on myself and testing it on him. But when he was 19, he got in a really bad snowboarding accident that left him paralyzed from the waist down, and he's still in a wheelchair now.
Oh, okay, I didn't know.
But to really get him out of that funk of his injury, I started, I would visit him at the hospital, obviously. But I was giving him these supplements and trying to push him to get back into athletics again. And actually, a few years after that, he ended up training with the Paralympic team in wheelchair racing.
Very
So, yeah. And there was a scuba diving trip that both of us went on to get certified, where we realized, like, hey, there has to be this theme of accessibility that we could translate into these supplements that we're taking. And also, it's not a good look to take pills in public, especially when they're in a Ziploc bag.
I think we're in a wellness era,
Yes.
and we're standing on the shoulders of a lot of people. A lot of people have done a lot of work, decades ago to get us here. But, there are other people out there, whether that's Andrew Huberman or Peter Attia or
Yeah.
some of these other folks that are out talking about science in public, making it more accessible and popular. And then I just think generally people seem to be on this like no alcohol kick, and I don't know. I feel like it kind of started, especially it jump started after the pandemic. Don't you feel that way?
I would, I think it, I, I think it revealed itself more after the pandemic, because during the pandemic, I think a lot of people went down a dark path, and then they realized, like, hey, the pendulum swung the other way. Like, I want to feel better, because feeling better every single day is better than feeling great for 3 hours a night and then feeling like crap for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
So for alcohol or whatever it happens to be. But I also do think that, like, there's a great episode on Joe Rogan, whatever you think about him, with
like Joe.
Callie. Yeah, I love Joe too. But Callie and Casey Means, that talks
Yeah.
about the food industry.
Yeah.
And how, like, the inner workings of the food industry is there to really just create more addictive products for you with the things they put into it. And when all those things start coming to life, all the junk food that I used to eat as a child, not knowing it was junk food, like, of course someone's going to try to unveil whatever the garbage that they're trying to push out onto us is. And then our generation, right, this new generation of entrepreneurs in health and wellness realizes that and wants to put something better out into the world. And I love it.
Yeah. I mean, I think the timing was great. And you're right. The pandemic did just sort of reveal what was already happening under the hood, quietly, secretly. I mean, the whole wellness movement probably goes back to maybe the origins of Nike, when the whole like jogging, running, that whole era started. That
Yeah.
kick-started things, the health movement, jazzercise,
Yeah.
and it just sort of been crescendoing a big wave. I think it's still early, don't you?
I mean, yeah, there was that Richard Simmons era, I guess, of like the TV exercise. And then it like, once that became mass consumerism, all these companies try to capitalize on it. And I feel like now it's obviously we're still a business. Like all of us are trying to capitalize on this health and wellness movement, but in a more nuanced way. You know, how do you get better sleep? Like, let's target sleep to begin with.
Right.
Let's target focus, not just energy to begin with. And we're a lot smarter because of the science-backed element that you're talking about
Yeah.
being brought to light.
Yeah. But I really feel like it's still early because I'm even thinking back, like, my grandparents, who I didn't know on my dad's side, they smoked like 2 packs of cigarettes a day. And
Which doctors were telling you was good, right?
well, and they died of emphysema. No surprise, right? Like, so, and complications from it. So then my dad was affected by that because he inhaled secondhand smoke from, the crib until he left that house. So he was sort of in poor health, and didn't focus on his health. He passed away early. He was 68,
Yeah.
died in 2019, very unexpectedly. And that has made me hyper aware of my health. Like, hey, I want to stick around because I kind of love life and I love my family and I love doing stuff, and it's just like great to be here. So you said it, like it's so much more enjoyable to be in great health and be out spearfishing in the water
Yeah.
than the opposite, right? Like that kind of life is lousy. But even thinking about like technology, science, medications, I'm looking for the day where it's all like custom made. When there's no, I watch TV and some of those commercials are hilarious. I like the side effects.
Oh, yeah. It's
You
just
know,
a massive list. There's
you
that
take
SNL
this,
skit. Yeah.
yeah, this could definitely cure what you've got going on, or you take it and your ears fall off or something like
Yeah.
what? But customized medicine to your genome, to your genetics, to your biology would be great. And I think that's probably coming at some point.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, obviously 23andMe went under kind of recently, and then
Yeah.
all of our data is being sold off to some private equity group.
Yeah, that's a
So
bummer.
there is like a little bit of this like data fear to like to health kind
Yeah.
of correlation. But and then also like Care of was a massive supplement company, right? That made personalized supplements based on your habits. And they just went under last year as well.
Yeah.
I feel like if there's a way to unlock supply chain and people like these different health and wellness companies to really come together to provide the service, that's way more possible than one company trying to handle it all for like millions of different genetic traits.
Yeah, and I don't pretend to know the solution, but to me, the logical solution is you got to give individuals the ability, the power, the autonomy over their own understanding their own health.
Yeah.
Because it's information arbitrage right now. Like you go to the doctor and you don't know what you don't know. So she's like, "Oh, you should do this, that, and the other." And you're like, "Really? Okay, I guess so, since you're the expert." But then if it doesn't work or if it goes sideways, and I've had this happen a lot. I love doctors. My sister's a nurse at Stanford Hospital. She saves lives every day.
Yeah.
But honestly, I I have not had much luck with doctors for like just preventive maintenance and day-to-day feeling great. If I get my arm bit off by a shark, you betcha I'm grateful that there's an emergency room.
Yeah.
They're gonna fix me up. Other than that, like, I don't know. I think the future is coming and I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of mistrust in doctors because a lot of like kind of like the way procedures were done previously was if you feel a certain way, here is a remedy for it. But a lot of people don't know, like you're super healthy, but it took you a lot of work
Yeah.
to get to this point
My
to
own
feel
work.
of your own work to
Yeah.
feel great. And if they understand how good that feels once you put your own work to feel great, that's where those preventative measures that you're talking about, that's where that like physical therapy, the rehab, whatever prehab, whatever it is to get to that point becomes so much more valuable. And unfortunately, the medical system fixed this thing immediately,
Yeah.
which is why we had that whole Purdue incident with the oxytocin and, like all the issues we have with opiates in the United States right
Yeah.
now. Because it was like, this is an immediate fix, but that immediate fix, you can't feel great all the time.
Yeah.
But you know how you do feel great all the time? You work on it, you build a healthy lifestyle, and you pursue it yourself. Like, you know how to pursue it yourself.
Yeah. And this is what this is. I mean, we are talking this out, putting these ideas out in the universe right now,
Yeah.
so that someone who's really smart can
Yeah, go do it.
take one of them and do it.
Self-employed.
But like, honestly, back to this point that we're making about personalized medicine, I think if you put the control and knowledge into the hands of individual people, then it allows them to care, 0% or 100%.
Yeah.
And then to your point, if you can connect all of these other doctors who are in your life, whether that's a physical therapist or a nutritionalist or someone who gives emotional support, like if they're all connected and it goes back to, your database where you can evaluate how my level's looking today. Oh,
Yeah.
shoot, my hormones are a little down, or my, and my um, what's the stress hormone?
Endorphins,
No,
cortisol.
my cortisol is high. Why? That's weird. Like, so if I could monitor it all,
There is data out there that
yeah,
can be consolidated to
yeah.
help people live
But
better.
it's all in silos right now.
It's all in silos right
Yeah.
now. Yes.
So we've got to like bring it back to like a central database or
Yes.
something where we can feel safe and no one's going to steal our
Yeah. I
technology.
also do love that science is cool now. Again, there's the Bill Nye era and the Mythbusters era, but
Yeah.
now it's like, dude, I mean, I have friends that did not give a shit about science and health back in the day that religiously listen to Andrew Huberman now,
Yeah.
right? Or Peter Attia.
Sure.
It's like, I love that.
Yeah.
And it might just be our age, and I don't know what, the younger kids are doing, but
Yeah. Maybe. But like, it really got real for me when I started, like, when the wheels started coming off the bus and I was like, what is happening to me? Like,
yeah.
I had a real health shift. And for me, it wasn't like life threatening, although it felt, I was getting really, really bad migraine headaches
Mm.
all of a sudden, like turned a certain age and it was 40. I hit 40. I was like, all of a sudden I couldn't eat 7 or 8 tacos anymore. And I couldn't be out partying. It was like your body's saying no more.
Yeah.
And it took me several years to figure out what was happening. And I talked to some professional athlete friends and they finally said, Brian, I think you're dehydrated. I was like, no, no, I drink plenty of water. And they said, no, 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 electrolytes. I was like, come again?
Yeah.
Electro what? So when I learned what electrolyte, but I had to learn that myself.
Yeah.
Like no one was like suggesting it. Everyone was just throwing pills at me, or surgery or something. I was like, that doesn't seem right.
All right.
I had to use my own brain. So
All I had to do was just drink water with like a few minerals in it.
a little bit of
Right.
sodium, potassium, magnesium was like it knocked out like 75% of the problem. But the other part of it was sleep.
Yep.
I had to retrain myself to prioritize sleep. The other part was nutrition, and the other part was fitness.
Yeah.
It's not rocket science, but like I literally had to figure it out myself. None of these other experts, so-called experts, not the the cardiologist in Newport Beach that I went to see, or I had an MRI, had all that stuff from a neurologist, the smartest in the country.
Yeah.
And they all were thinking very myopic about it and just threw pills. And I was like, I'm not doing pills till I die. Like there has to be a different way. So anyway,
I wonder what it is. It's what is it how they're taught, to deal with, because they deal with patients all the time. So it's human nature to just have heuristics, right? Categorize based on what you see and deal with it
yeah,
based on the medication or whatever it happens to be.
I don't want to be too critical.
No, no,
And
no.
I love the medical community, but
Same.
if I'm being a little critical, I would say um, they're they're probably overworked and underpaid,
Yep.
even though they're probably making 3, 4, or 500K a year. They're bought, a lot of them, through pharmaceuticals. So they're sort of in a pinch. If they don't play the game, they can't make it. Now, some doctors are going neuropathic or neuro, they're naturopathic doctors. So they're leaving the traditional community and they're going to private medicine. I have one of those doctors who's like my private physician. And it's fantastic because they're not motivated to sell me whatever is the most popular drug these days.
Yeah.
They're more focused on my individual health, but that's rare right now. So I think they're kind of stuck in a system that's broken. I think, yeah, bucking against that status quo is probably pretty painful.
Yeah.
All the schooling they did is probably out the door and
Because
waste.
these guys are making a lot of money, but they're also in a bunch of debt. Right?
Sunk cost
It's
fallacy, right? It's like
exactly.
I've already invested this much. I can't change.
Yeah. I mean, I have a lot of doctor friends, and they're all amazing people, but it is an amazing doctors also. But to your point, it's not. It's like any industry. You get the great doctors that think things through comprehensively, and then there's other people that are maybe looking at it a little bit too myopically, to your point.
Yeah. So you came to a point where you pivoted from art, you sort of coupled that with your skills, and then you were dabbling, your little science lab
Yeah,
in your
sure.
dorm. I mean, how did you even know what to start putting together? Were you doing online research or like
Yeah,
mixing this with that?
Reddit are nootropics. I mean, I guess Reddit's not so different now than it was back then. Maybe less political, but Reddit are nootropics was a small forum of a lot of people that were mixing supplements to see cognitive benefits. And funny enough, I've also spoken with like Dave Asprey back in the day. When he was looking at nootropics, I was reading about nootropics under Tim Ferriss's book
Yeah.
because he was really big into it. And I just remember going down this path around what, and my mom's a dietitian, and my sister's actually a nutritionist also now. So,
Okay.
it's a little
You have some resources.
bit of a, yeah, exactly, a mix and match of where I pull my information from.
Yeah.
But Reddit R Nootropics was probably the one site I was on all the time, bouncing ideas back and forth with people and testing things using my knowledge from neuroscience to see what's working and what's not, what side effects I'm seeing and what side effects I'm not seeing.
Okay, so I just want to get this straight.
Little
So
guinea
your
pig.
your source material was Reddit.
Uh,
Were you looking at like journals,
no,
medical
no, no,
journals?
yeah, yeah. So Reddit back in the day, R Nootropics was a journal. So they would share a bunch of
It's a
journals.
subreddit.
So
Okay.
it was a subreddit
Uh,
that was sharing a bunch of journals.
Now I get it.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, exactly. And then people talking about their own experiences on top of that.
Okay. Like got
So
ashwagandha to help with this, that.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and then looking at like the data behind what's working and what's not behind these different supplements. It wasn't just a bunch of redditors anecdotally talking about what's working and what's not.
Now I see it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those are resources. There were other forums that I was visiting. There were things I was learning in school. I was talking to my sister, obviously, quite a bit. She's a nutritionist for professional athletes. So she's looking at different supplementation all the time. She actually knows Dr. Peter Attia because they did some work together. But it was through that, you know, I kind of, I was looking at the racetams and, like all these random compounds, but I was taking vasopressin before my test because I knew that that would increase my short-term memory so I could ace the test without studying too much, like I was doing things like that even. But then I reeled it all back and realized that the combination of natural caffeine, L-theanine, B6, and B12 vitamins, methylcobalamin, the methylated version of B12, worked as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it was way more approachable to everyone. And that's kind of the way we started approaching NeuroGum in general as a company. It's like, what are these things that are proven to work, has hundreds of scientific papers, and is not some scary, like, fringe thing like the racetams family to allow people to perform at their best. And then we could take on the energy drink space, the energy supplement space, and we could slowly start changing the perception that people have about what it takes to perform at your best, what it takes to be focused.
Yeah. My mind is, I got so many questions, but let's go back to the genesis of the idea, you know, Neuro as a company, and then how you decided on the delivery vehicle, right?
Mhm.
In this case, it's a gum, it's a chewable, but you must have looked at the landscape and you saw everything that was happening. Walk me through that. What was that like?
So supplements, so during the time that we were developing the product, there was a lot of backlash behind supplements because you realize that the FDA doesn't regulate
Yeah,
supplements at all.
yeah.
And even now, they don't regulate it. And funny enough, we're the first gum and mint package that has a supplement label on the back to be approved through Works, which is like it's all the compliance stuff that you have to go through to get into retail stores. And we're in Whole Foods and Erewhon and all these places that are very strict, obviously.
Yeah.
But knowing that, we knew that our margins would definitely be better with supplements, but we couldn't find the right partner to develop the best supplements. And also, we were novices in business at that time.
Yeah.
So we were just using our resources.
You mean factories or manufacturing places that were clean or approved or at
Yeah.
a certain level? Yeah, because we had the guys from Momentous on here
Oh, yeah.
several months ago, and they talked about how strict and rigid their standards are and how it was so difficult to find. I would assume you had the same kind of
It's
experience.
difficult to find.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I mean, Momentous is a company I trust. Keon's another company I trust. But there's only ProMix. Like, there's only so many companies that I could trust to get even my protein powder.
Yeah.
Because none of them do like heavy metal testing, and you don't need to write about that. and that doesn't show up in the ingredients.
Right. Right. I
Right.
heard something. We had Brian Johnson on too,
Yeah.
who talks, about not dying.
Yeah.
And he's like, by the way, all your favorite chocolate has all this heavy metal in it.
It's crazy.
It's
And
crazy.
made with child labor, which is a whole nother thing.
Yeah. So like,
So, but those things you don't need to put on the supplement labels. And for us, we have two partners. So we have our manufacturer, which we have a patented way that we make our product,
where do you make it,
which
by
is
the way?
in Canada,
Okay.
which the tariffs, well, that's a whole nother conversation. But it's a small mom and pop manufacturing facility that had a cold compressed tri-layer way that doesn't use heat. So it doesn't degrade any of the ingredients that go inside a gum.
Okay.
And no one else does that. And then our other partner that's in New York does WADA testing. They have a partnership directly with the Shanghai Medical Association to be able to look at new ingredients.
Okay.
And they're able to do like batch manufacturing testing to know that our ingredients are safe and effective.
Okay.
So that's the two partners that, we very fortunately found to come together to build a product that was reliable.
For people who don't know more about the brand, I want to unpack it more, but like, is it only gum at this point?
It's gum and mints. So, and we develop, both confectionaries. Yeah, gum.
So there's no pills. You can't, there's no protein powder. There's no pill you can take.
No, but that's not our mantra. Like at the end of the day, it's something that fits in your pocket so that you could take it with you wherever you go.
Yeah.
And yeah, we have our bulk bags and stuff, but
That's what I wanted to know more about, because again, the people who watch and listen, they're on the same product development path.
yeah.
And they're trying to figure out, well, should we be like these guys and do it this way? Like, how did you decide not to do the traditional path?
I, everything starts with core values. And Ryan and I, as best friends, started this business, and it really reflects in the culture of the business because everyone in the company is so like all love each other. We have an incredible culture at the company, that are all very health and wellness focused, as you can imagine. But for us, it was with him being in a wheelchair, it was about accessibility. And accessibility, and if you're not carrying around like a massive tub of protein
Hey,
powder
you have a
or
blender somewhere.
a
Close.
blender or like a bag of pills with you, like
Yeah.
for us, it was what are the things that we need on an everyday basis in an immediate moment? And it was energy and focus. So that was our first product. What do you need when your cortisol level spikes? We came out with a calm and clarity product, and then what do you do if you can't take caffeine? We have a memory and focus decaf product that uses Cerebus ginseng. So we started thinking through almost like the life cycle of a health and wellness person's day and thinking what they could use that fits in their pocket more so than someone that's a little bit more routine, I guess, in their health schedule to be like, oh, I'm going to have my two, scoops of protein powder in the morning and the creatine and, my green. That's for the normal person, that's a lot harder to maintain.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're creating more friction, right?
Exactly.
James Clear taught me, you don't fail to the level of your goals or your wishes, or your willpower. You fall to the level of your processes.
I love that.
And it's true. Like,
I love that.
if you don't have a blender anywhere close, your hose,
Yeah, you're
oh, yeah,
exactly.
you can't just like raw dog a scoop of protein.
Yeah.
I see people do
I've seen people do it too.
creatine, but
Yeah.
it's the worst.
Yeah, just like dry mouth, just
Oh,
disgusting.
and stomach aches too. Have you ever-
Stomach aches. Oh my God, yeah. I've done it in certain instances. Yeah,
Yeah, don't recommend it.
definitely not.
Chew the gum.
Exactly.
Have a mint.
So
It's a lot
being able to,
easier.
and even like the gummy craze that's happening right now, like that definitely reduced the friction because it's sweet. It's like a candy, and you get to take it.
Yeah.
But even then, there's that friction point of one, is it really healthy for you? Are you getting the right load size? It's treated with heat, like 99% of the time, I assume, because it's a gummy and that gets heated and then shrunken down once it cools. So you're not getting the pure ingredients. Like those are all things that we started slowly thinking about as we developed the product. And then obviously just stuck with the gum and mint format because we felt that it was the most effective.
Yeah. And so, start of the company was 2015.
15. Yep.
Give us an idea of the financials. So it's 2015.
Yeah.
You announced that you're doing this company. What's your mom
think,
think this time?
Dude, it was so crazy because my parents were supportive. They're supportive of everything I did. But at the end of the day, but I had two massive pallets of gum that Ryan and I used our savings on that got delivered to my living room. And the guy delivering it from his truck was just like, so where's the warehouse?
Right.
I was like, oh, it's just in my room. Like, come on. And like,
Yeah.
it's just sitting in my living room. thankfully, we were able to hit our Indiegogo, which is like a Kickstarter goal in 3 days because Time Magazine wrote about us. The Reddit Our Nootropic community that I was a part of just loved it that there was a more accessible way to get their nootropic stacked. So we raised about $20,000 within 3 days, and then a month after our Indiegogo campaign ended, Dr. Oz's team reached out to us.
Okay.
And was like, "Hey, this is really novel and cool. Like, can we put it onto our show?" And then now all of a sudden we reached like middle America house, like stay-at-home moms that started blowing up my phone because my phone was a customer service line.
Okay.
And we ran out of product.
Yeah.
So
good problem to have.
Oh, great problem. And what's crazy is like some of that demographic still loves our product. And I follow some of them on Instagram, funny enough, because they were so supportive of us since the very beginning. And I'm forever grateful. But that was like our first, I guess, the first inflection point of many, obviously. And that first year from October to December, I think we did like 109,000 or something.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah.
And we were like, we have sorting. 109,000, come on. It's like after COGS and stuff, like, don't worry about that. But, and then the second year, we kept building up this PR arm for us because we understood that education, for a lot of people that don't know that supplements come in gum and mint format, which they don't, people had to learn more about our product if they wanted to buy it. And we had to like build credibility. So we started educating consumers. We did Facebook ads. We went on Amazon, and we did like, 780K that second year.
Okay.
And then that third year,
I mean, that's a huge jump.
It was a big jump. Yeah. But it's easier to jump from 109 to 700, than 700 something to much, or a million to 10 or 10 to 100, right? So.
Yeah, that's what I hear. But incredible. I mean, you got the bump from the community. I'm also thinking, other gum products in the space. The only one I can think of is Aspergum. Talk about a bad name for.
I don't even know what that is.
You know what Aspergum is?
No, what is that?
It's aspirin and gum.
Oh my
Aspergum.
That is crazy.
And it's like literally
terrible name.
The worst name ever. But I'm just trying to think of any other like medical gum. I mean, you go to Japan. There's
ton
of great
black and
flavors.
yeah.
It all tastes like medicine.
It does.
A lot of it does.
That has like a little bit of nicotine in it. The black and black gum.
Is that right? I don't doubt it. Yeah.
You got to make it a little addictive.
Yeah. Fascinating. But yeah, there's nothing else like it. So you had to re-educate.
Yeah, re-educate the consumer, and then year 3, year 4, year 5. Like as we start going through the business, year 5 was a big year because we had Shark Tank air, but that was COVID time. So we shot Shark Tank in 2019. It aired in 2020, and that's where we saw this like from 3.5 to another big jump. And then that end of that year, Joe Rogan mentioned us for the first time organically.
Yeah.
And that was way bigger than Shark Tank. So from there, we started building like.
Wait, pause. So you were on Shark Tank. So 2019, you were on Shark Tank?
2019, we shot Shark Tank, and then 2021, the world shut down in April. Shark Tank aired.
It's possible because 2019 is when I started building Kevin O'Leary's YouTube channel.
Oh, that's crazy.
Did you know this?
Yeah, you were telling me about the Kevin O'Leary.
Yeah, 2019, I was hanging around Shark Tank sets. Although it's possible. It's possible that I was there.
Yeah.
But those sessions go on for like 6, 8, 12 hours.
It's crazy.
Like 14-hour days.
It's incredibly impressive what they're able to do. And thankfully we're the first company to come to record with them in that new season.
Okay.
So they had all the energy in the world, and we were in there for like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah. And so you got an offer.
We got 2 offers. Yeah. So Kevin O'Leary gave us one of those Kevin O'Leary offers.
Royalty deal,
but I still want equity and I'll finance it, but I want this much until this amount.
How much are you asking for?
Oh my gosh. I should really know this. It was $1 million for 7.5% of the business, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah. And then
so
Robert Herjavec.
Evaluation translate to?
About $15 million.
Okay.
Yeah. Whatever that. I mean, we were doing like $3.5 million in sales. So they were like, whoa, but they didn't question it, really. And then Robert Herjavec tried to work out a deal to get 15% or 20%. This is so long ago, but 15-20% of the company for that same amount for $1 million. And then we tried to work it down to 10, but we couldn't reach a deal.
Yeah.
So
you walked.
So we walked, but what's crazy from that time is we became good friends with Daniel Lubetzky, who was a judge at the time,
Yeah.
because right after Shark Tank aired, um, this other company this much larger company decided to sue us.
Oh,
Yeah. So
and Daniel did Kind Bars. He's that
Kind
now.
Bar, yes.
Yeah.
Worth billions of dollars.
Yeah, he's out of that now, I think.
He's out of that now, but he's
Yeah.
still an incredible just human being, you know.
Yeah.
And he really helped us through that lawsuit because he you know, when he was younger, or his company was younger rather, Kinder, the eggs,
Okay.
decided to sue him for the name. And it was the exact same thing where categorically we're so different from this other company,
Okay.
but they wanted to sue us. And it was a war of attrition where they were just going to run us into the ground. And then Daniel Lubetzky came, spoke with the founder of that other company, was like, hey, like, I'm going to back these guys. So you're not going to have the money to be able to take them
Oh,
down.
I love that.
And so it was
What
a
a
tough,
hero.
oh my God. We owe him everything to keeping the company alive because we didn't know how to navigate that at all. And so
Huge.
for those 2 years, it was really tough. But then we were able to, you know, revenue was stagnant, but then we were able to kind of rebound back, reinvest into marketing, inventory. This lawsuit was out of the way. And then, you know, now we are where we are. Fastest growing brand on TikTok last year. And, you know, this year too, we're still one of the top brands on TikTok, you know, top brand on Amazon Health and Household in 20 something plus thousand retail stores and expanding.
Okay, so let's talk about distribution. So here we are, basically April 2025. There was talk of a TikTok ban. Now I think we're another 75 days pushed out. It keeps getting pushed out, which I think it's going to get worked out.
I think so too.
But let's talk about distribution. So TikTok is your number one place to sell?
TikTok is probably our biggest impression machine.
Okay.
So we got almost 875 million impressions in just Q4 on TikTok.
Wow.
Which is crazy, you know?
Wow.
And then from there, we did like a Times Square activation. And, you know, we have cool partnerships with chess.com, 100 Thieves, Steve Aoki. You know, I just got off the phone with the world's strongest man earlier today. So we have partnerships with super cool people too that help elevate our brand. But
Yeah.
TikTok was the machine that drove the most impressions.
Yeah. Can you share any TikTok secrets with people who are also trying to build a brand there? Like, was it hard to get your shop set up? Was it, you know, what? Give us
Yeah. Let me break it down. There's a million things. So let me break it down into 3 things. One is you need to handle it yourself. And this is something I tell everyone because Jonathan Hug, who's our head of growth, and I, in 2023, December, we both made a New Year's resolution to post every single day on TikTok and learn the system.
Okay.
And
You
then
have to be a practitioner.
you have to be a practitioner. Like Napoleon was always a soldier, right? He always went back to saying that I'm a soldier at the end of the day, and that's how I became a great emperor. So be that soldier, learn what it takes. And then about 3 months into it, one of my videos went viral. And then we tested that against how to, like that hook to keep creating viral moments. And then June, we got another video from another creator that went viral. And then we've had a viral video every single day since then.
Wow. Because you hacked the system, you learned the formula,
Exactly.
and you just replicated it.
And just testing those hooks and really switching the hooks around enough to see what resonates with people.
Yeah. What's one of those hooks?
So, I mean, the one that hit that I did was when Joe Rogan talked about our product. It was me saying like, "Oh my God, you guys will have no idea what Joe Rogan just said."
Yeah.
And then now they're sticking around to see what Joe Rogan said, and he's talking about our gum.
Yeah.
Right.
Success by association.
Yeah, it's
I mean, it's the strongest
it's
testimonial.
clickbait. Yeah, it's clickbait and then association. It's
clickbait. Yeah, but it's legit.
legit, 100% legit.
Because clickbait is usually a bait and switch.
Exactly. Yeah, there's no bait and switch with anything we do. It's
Yeah.
like all the credibility and education that we were building in that first 5 years of the business that I was talking about earlier was now coming to fruition. Because now these creators, now the hooks we're using, everyone could go back to those moments. Like Dr. Oz talks about this gum that worked for him, you know, and they pull a clip from Dr. Oz and they show it.
Yeah. Well, and you're also going. It seems like you have this no stone unturned, or you're covering the earth approach. Because Dr. Oz's audience is not the same as Joe Rogan.
No.
There may be a small Venn diagram crossover, but it's very slim.
Yeah.
But like, you know, you're hitting all the points.
Yeah, and we try to be conscious about the fact that like Joe Rogan has a real male-dominated audience. So how do we do like more female-targeted media as well, or female-targeted
Well, that's
partnerships,
Dr. Oz.
right?
Dr. Oz is the female.
Yeah,
audience.
like a Dr. Oz or even like the partnerships that we do, so that way we're still reaching everyone and we're not siloed into any specific consumer cohort.
Yeah. Um, okay, so you're on TikTok. Where else are you doing? It's all DTC?
It's all D2C. So I guess to segue into a second point, if you look at attribution from TikTok, don't look at it as just a sales channel. Look at it as a brand awareness channel.
Yes.
So if you look at it from the marketing funnel, the top of the funnel, it's really a top of the funnel and middle of the funnel channel
Yeah.
that you could activate, and then look at Amazon and your D2C channels and now your Google spend or your Facebook spend as your bottom of funnel uh, strategy.
Yeah. So you're talking about awareness and consideration,
Yep.
and then the Amazon or your actual like people where the power users go to buy is your bottom of the funnel to bring the
And how are you spending your ads on those channels now? How do you reformat your ads in a way that now you're getting that
pull through.
pull through, that audience to come through and buy?
Very smart. I love that. You're right. I think a lot of clients, when we talk to them on the production side of things, they're always thinking the top of funnel is really also bottom of the funnel. It's like, no, 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 no. I mean, it'd be nice, right?
Yeah,
Let's
it's
go
straight
like all the way down, shit to the letters. But like, no, like, pick an area of the funnel and let's focus on
Exactly.
it. Yeah.
And we're investing way heavier into brand awareness now, knowing that it's a contingency plan for TikTok, but understanding that as we build our brand awareness, which is now 13% unaided in the United States, 13% of America knows about us, right?
Yeah.
Which is crazy. So how do we continue to build that credibility with higher level content and getting it out there?
So smart. Okay. You said there's a third tip?
And then the third tip is treat your creators like your own. I think a lot of people go out there and they're like, I'm going to send out 5,000 sample requests today to all these random creators and now build a personal relationship with them. We have our own community. We have our own channel where we communicate with our TikTokers every single day and our creators. I go in there from time to time and meet with people. And then even for the Times Square thing, all of our top creators that built GMV for us, we put them on Times Square. And they loved it. Obviously, they're like, wow, I'm on like the biggest platform, the biggest screen in the world right now.
What do you have, like a Slack channel or a Discord channel? Or
Yeah, just a Discord channel where we all talk and chat and like they all chat with each other. And now it's just like this self-perpetuating like
a little
content
tribe.
machine.
Yeah.
It's a tribe.
Yeah.
And that applies to anything in life, right? Like, how do you treat your customers? How do you treat your creators? How do you treat your coworkers in a way where you're building a tribe and that's nothing new. That's the thing. But you have to employ all these things, these fundamentals into TikTok as well, instead of looking at it like it's just another growth channel.
Yeah. So it sounds like TikTok's top of the funnel awareness, consideration. The majority of the DTC sales are not coming through your website. They're coming through Amazon.
Amazon's our biggest channel, probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Amazon,
logical.
TikTok, D2C, yeah.
Yeah, because I can order it today and get it this afternoon.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't.
You can't beat that.
I can't beat that. Yeah. Although some other people are trying, like Walmart is creeping up there pretty quickly.
But the most annoying thing is Walmart.com and Amazon.com both compete on lowest price. So if one has a sale, the other one tries to bid that sale lower, and then you get delisted on Amazon or delisted on Walmart.com. And I really hope they fix that. But you kind of have to choose your battles.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, so what have you learned about? Let's talk about brand for a second.
Sure.
So this show is called Behind the Brand. What is, in your mind, what's the definition of a brand? And then the second part will be like, what is the Neuro brand?
Okay, yeah, that's a good question. In my opinion, a brand is an organization that operates on a set of core values to push some product or item or ideology out. For us, it's this ideology that health and wellness should be accessible to everyone, and through our core value, our main core values around like humility, servant mindset, all those things. We employ that in everything we do, in the way we showcase ourselves, so that it translates into what gets delivered to the end consumer. Because we could also just brand ourselves as like rockstar energy gum, but that's not who we are.
Yeah,
we are neuro, we are cognition, we are brain.
I just saw the commercial. You chew it, it's like you the barbers go off, and there's a car jumping over.
Right, exactly. Evil Knievel, like
car rears up, and it's sort of like a wheelie all the way down.
But for us, it's our campaign that we're shooting on Thursday is called Live in Focus. And it's about this everyday person. I'll show you the treatment because I want to get your thoughts on it. But, the everyday person through different landscapes, going about their every day, living in focus to be at their best.
Yeah, I love that. It makes me think of Ichiro. The tattoo he had on his arm is
No, yeah.
shoot, shoot,
Oh, that's good. Shoot you. Yeah, focus.
focus.
Yeah. And that guy embodies focus.
Yeah, yeah. That's wonderful. Okay, yeah. So that your answer kind of tracks with, the 500 other people I've asked. I think if I was going to add anything to that, I would say, a brand it doesn't have to be an entity, but a brand is your reputation. So it could actually
I
be a
love that.
person.
Yeah.
Kent's brand is XYZ. It's what you stand for, your reputation. I also think it's a shorthand. And if you're doing it right, people can sort of know what they're going to expect before they get it. The example that Seth Godin told me, he said, close your eyes. And let's do this little exercise. Imagine if Nike built a hotel. Can you see like the amenities? Do you know what it smells like, or feels like, or looks like? You can sort of have that image in your mind, right?
Yeah.
Now do the same exercise with like Hyatt. If Hyatt made a running shoe, can you imagine the Hyatt running shoe? And you can't. It's a little more difficult.
Yeah.
No knock on Hyatt, but it's like a brand is distinct. And when it's not distinct, like a Hyatt or a Marriott or a Hilton, which are great hotels, but they're not distinct, they're not special, unique, or different. When you're trying to compete on better, not different or unique, then you're sort of the same.
Yeah.
And, I know that those hotels, because, I'm like a Marriott Bonvoy member, I go to Marriott's whenever I can, but like their strategy is wherever you throw a stick, you should hit a Marriott. It's about being ubiquitous or being convenient or being, there's somewhat value, there's a value prop, but it's not distinct. And so I would argue that those hotel companies don't really have a brand. They're more of a commodity. And another example of commodities, like when you like go to Costco, for example, and there's Advil and ibuprofen,
Yeah.
and they're usually in like 10-gallon barrels, but like
Yeah.
one is blue, and let's say it's $10, and the other one is brown, and it's $5. Like the ingredients are exactly the same. Why would I pay more premium for the blue stuff?
It's the Kirkland signatures. Yeah.
And so you don't, because you don't care, and it's not because it's not distinct. And that's another benefit of having a brand, is people are willing to pay a premium for your product, and that's sort of litmus test that you can know if you have a brand or not. Are people willing to wait in line, or pay a premium, or jump through other hoops that you ask them to do? These are the things that are signals to know that you have a brand, a
Yeah.
strong brand.
Branding your reputation is a great term. Like that's a great phrase.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. And funny enough, we went through that exercise too of like, imagine what car Neuro would drive. What does that room smell like? Like we went through that exact same exercise.
Yeah.
Because it does help to visualize like your brand as a person, to your point.
Yeah.
It's like, which a person can be a brand in many ways.
Yeah.
Or a hotel or whatever it happens to be.
Yeah. Well, some people say, I'm not a brand, I'm a human being. But I would argue that you do have a personal brand. And that if you don't stand for something or let people know what you stand for, then other people will assign it for you.
Yeah.
And sometimes, because I'm in my head a lot, people will say, Brian, "Daju no? Ohoteru no? Are you angry? Are you okay?" No, I'm just in my head, actually. So like I have to go out of my way to say, by the way, I'm always thinking, like I'm in my head. I have a company called The Good Brain for a reason, because
Yeah.
I'm always in my head thinking about strategy or some sort of plan. So I'm not angry. I'm actually very, mild-mannered, but like that's my thing. So if you don't tell people what you stand for, they're going to assign a brand. The other thing is, once you put a product out into the world, then you're sort of done, because then people will assign. And like I would assume that Mercedes-Benz in somewhere in Germany, when they designed the G-Wagon, had no idea that Post Malone was going to sing about it.
Yeah.
But like that's a happy accident. That's a thing that culturally, rock stars or rappers, whoever that audience is, they attach themselves to that model or that brand, and when you hold it up in the mirror, they see themselves in it. So that resonates with them, and all of a sudden they make it their own. And then you have brand extensions. You have a brand that grows in different directions that you didn't expect.
Yeah.
And that's when things really started getting good. So if you have 1 million customers, you might have 1 million opinions about what your brand is, but that's a good thing.
Yeah, and that's the communication that you have to have as a business.
Yeah.
You have to communicate with your consumer because your consumer is communicating with you.
Yeah.
So, what is that dialogue that you're developing? To create the best version of yourself.
Yeah. And where brands go wrong is when the talk doesn't line up with the walk.
Yeah,
Like,
I think that. I say this all the time too. Where that's with human beings. What are your values, and do you stand behind your values? And that's really what makes a person with integrity.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
yeah. So what is the Neuro brand?
So the Neuro brand is accessible health and wellness. Like that's really it at the end of the day.
Yeah. And so do you think your main point of differentiation is the mode or the model of delivery?
Absolutely.
So there's no other thing on the market. There's no, aside from Aspergum, which I think you probably still find at Walgreens or something.
Yeah, I need to go look for that. That's so funny.
Yeah. There's no other chewable. So how do you decide on the product extension? So like one is energy and focus.
We think about so yeah, I brought you two energy and focuses.
One is
But
memory.
calm and clarity,
Yeah.
memory and focus,
Sleep.
multivitamin, sleep. What are the use cases throughout the day that will help you that we could help you with?
So you're problem solving.
We're problem solving the different use cases throughout the day.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So I have trouble sleeping. Okay, you've got something for that.
Yeah.
And it's not like what's in it? Is it like a
It's super low dose melatonin because all these products, when people are like, oh my God, melatonin makes me groggy and this and that, they're taking like 20 milligrams of melatonin. Of course you feel crappy.
Yeah.
And even Brian Johnson takes melatonin because he realizes that it improves his sleep cycles. Like low dose of melatonin, because it's a hormone to help you with sleep and sleep quality is super important. And then we have a different set of botanicals. So like lemon balm, chamomile to help you with all the different cycles of sleep.
Yeah, these are natural herbal.
It's just natural herbal botanical remedies.
Yeah. What's some of these other sleep medicines? I think one of them was like Ambien and like these are like medications.
Yeah, there's medications like Ambien. A really popular one is like
Unisom, I think was another one.
Like magnesium has been really popular these days, and glycine has been really popular.
But these are natural.
But those are natural. And I actually take glycine every single night also for sleep when I don't want to take melatonin. And the thing is, like, our limitation is load capacity. So for our dissolvable mints, they dissolve in less than 30 seconds. It has the melatonin. It's great for if you're jet lagged or you're traveling, and it is like a must-have for me.
Yeah.
When I'm going out and about and I need to reset my circadian rhythm.
Yeah.
But with something like a glycine that I think Brian Johnson also takes, that is something that helps me get into deep sleep on a nightly basis, and then I wake up feeling refreshed. So, and also it's a precursor to collagen, so apparently it's good for your skin too.
Yeah.
But
is there a dosage? Like, is it like
So
only take 4 a day or something like this?
yeah, so
Can you
the ener-
overdose on any of this?
you could take too much caffeine, but you could take an entire pack and it's still less caffeine than a big cup of coffee from Starbucks.
Okay.
We are so over caffeinated as a society that when you realize that you could just reel it back and not burn out your adenosine glands
Yeah.
or your adenosine receptors, then a small dose of caffeine is all you need to stay balanced throughout the day.
Okay.
And for us, our philosophy is almost like microdosing throughout the day. What is your need state for energy and focus, and then take that throughout the day to feel better about yourself.
So 0 sugar, aspartame free.
Yep.
Aspartame's the fake sugar.
Aspartame is the fake sugar that's been linked with phenylalanine, which causes cancers in rats.
Not good.
Yeah.
Also, they won't take it at Whole Foods.
Yeah, they don't take it at Whole Foods.
Or Erewhon.
Yeah.
Gluten-free vegan. Okay. So if you're not focused and you eat this whole pack in a day, you're fine.
Yeah.
Or if your kid gets a hold of it and thinks it's just regular gum, no.
One piece of gum is as much caffeine as a Coca-Cola. If that puts it into perspective.
Okay, so if they're bouncing off the walls, they got into your gum.
yeah, that's fair.
Okay.
Or maybe they're more focused. Who knows?
Yeah.
Oh.
Is there an age limit? Like, I think about my kid who's in high school right now, and he's, taking tests. Is there like an age? How do you think about it?
We try to say 18 and over,
Okay.
just because there is caffeine in it, and you don't want people taking caffeine at too young of an age, just naturally.
Yeah,
Like
the kids are having way more caffeine than
it's-
probably.
what's crazy is like,
So,
I
yeah.
remember kids in high school drinking Starbucks coffee and frappuccinos every day when they were 13. You know, one, it's filled with sugar. Two, it's like 300 milligrams of caffeine
Yeah.
at 13 years old when you should have the most energy you ever have in your life.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not a proponent of that, but I mean, even drinking Coca-Cola, it's really the sugar rush that you're getting outside of the caffeine.
Yeah.
So the combination of the caffeine and the L-theanine, for us, L-theanine is the main components in matcha. It's a much more focused energy versus artificial caffeine that just gets you bouncing off the walls.
Yeah, I got you. Okay, so 2015 was 100K. Then you jumped to 700K, going back in the chronology. Then
Sure.
year 3, 4, 5, what did that look like? Did you continue to
Yeah, slowly.
hockey stick up?
No, it was like 700, 1.2, 2, 3.5. Like, it was like this slow
Respectable.
rank up. And we didn't raise money like at all, until we raised from angel investors, and then we raised a big Series A. But like up until that point, we were just bootstrapping the business. It was just a few of us in the company, and
How many
going
now?
like 60 something, 68, close, maybe 70.
That
Yeah.
includes manufacturing or just
No. It includes our warehouse though.
Okay.
So, warehouse, our team across sales, marketing, operations, finance.
what's the core team that's not packing things up ish?
For like 40 something,
Okay.
40, 50 something. Yeah.
Yeah.
So warehouse is maybe like 15 to 20 people on any given day.
Okay.
Yeah.
And current sales or projection, where are you guys headed?
Pretty good. Let's say, towards 9 figures, let's say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, no, it's been incredible. TikTok's been amazing for us, but beyond TikTok, I feel like our brand is really coming together, and our team is just so damn good that at like really elevating. We look at everything across the funnel, right? Like, so from the consideration to the engagement to the retention, like, and wherever the consumer falls into place. But as we get more accessibility into stores, our retail sales start going up because the brand awareness engine is humming, and then D2C is humming because they see us in retail and they want to buy bulk bags on it. It's like it almost seems like now that we're 10 years in, the cycle is humming where our consumers know where to find us, they love our product, and they stay customers.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever been tempted to go? I mean, what I find amazing is how, we'll go back to the word myopic, but like in a good way, how focused you guys are on the core product. Have you ever been tempted to go like widen the lane or like create a bed, a neuro bed, or like,
Dude, absolutely. And that was probably like the worst growth year that we had,
What did you try to do?
I mean, we created something called like Neuro Labs where we were going to launch our supplements because our brand had credibility. But then we realized like that completely goes against the core values of what we represented. Like, why would we launch a protein powder? It doesn't make sense. And now we're holding on to inventory that isn't selling through. We're not using it into marketing our core products, which still has a massive audience that we could reach into.
Yeah.
And it's I think that's a mantra for all businesses that people should follow. It's like, who is your core audience, product, and values that you push out and really focus on that first before you cross the chasm into the blue ocean.
Yeah. It's hard to do, I would guess.
It's hard because it's so easy to get distracted.
Yeah, and the revenue's there, and you're just like,
Yeah.
well, maybe we should make, pillows. I mean,
Sleep, yeah, right?
it's sort of closely related,
Yeah.
right? Like, we are making supplements, so we can make the perfect pillow, or
I mean, we have like add-on gifts and stuff, so we have fun still with like product launches in that way where it's like buy sleep and get a sleep mask, like if you order this much. But
yeah.
at the end of the day, like I see big companies are the ones that are dropping more product innovation just to build incremental revenue. For us, we're not even in incremental revenue phase. We are in growth with how much more that we can sell this. So that's what we're focused on.
I mean, we were just sitting back, chopping it up, reminiscing about the good old days and all that. Tracking my roots, where I came from.